The packing of this crop is running behind schedule because of an ongoing battle between two unlikely contenders. The produce is grown on 180 hectares of land now owned by the Warramai Local Aboriginal Land Council near Newcastle. With an annual turnover of around $60,000 and employing up to 12 workers, the market garden is battling to survive. But overheads and the elements aren't the only concerns.
Our biggest problem with reconciliation is not non-Aboriginals. It's the Aboriginal organisation at Parramatta. They are our biggest bugbear, and it would appear that they are hell-bent on destroying us.
Farm manager Jeff Bradford says because of a bureaucratic wrangle, the State Council has just withheld its quarterly funding for the second time in as many months. An emergency bank loan has temporarily solved the cash flow problem, but the matter is likely to end up once again before the courts. Jeff says his regional group, one of 117 across the state, is not the only one suffering under the new administration, following changes to the Aboriginal land rights legislation in 1990.
It created a massive bureaucracy, a centralisation of power, stripped the control from the regional land councils, who were made up of members from each of the locals, and has taken away the autonomy and self-management of the local land councils.
Jeff says he's in the process of proving mismanagement and believes it's time to call for reinforcements.
The quicker the government moves to appoint an administrator to the New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council to investigate just what is taking place, the mismanagement, inefficiency of that place, the better off we'll be.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Wickham School has stood idle since Newcastle's earthquake 3 years ago. The Education Department says sounds of learning and laughter won't be heard again echoing through the buildings. Instead, the Property Services Group is trying to sell off the site, and it's the lack of action on this front that has raised the ire of the local resident action group.
Well, it's just been left to go to rack and ruin, and one of the wonderful things that the Department of Education hierarchy have virtually managed to accomplish is demolished by neglect.
A spokesperson from the Property Services Group says the former Wickham school site is being considered for use as housing under the Better Cities program.
Anything as long as the building is saved in its present external structure. The structure of the building, the fact that it was built in 1904, it's 99 years old on the 24th of April. We're dying to see it make 100, you know.
The Action Group believes Wickham School is a significant part of Newcastle's heritage. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
The operation netted more than 100 endangered or protected birds, 23 species including king parrots, gangs, pink cockatoos and lorikeets. The birds were allegedly caught in a range of traps and kept in 90 cages at this Motto farmhouse just north of Newcastle. In conjunction with police from the Major Crime Squad, National Parks and Wildlife officers kept surveillance of the property for a week and a half. Today they moved in to seize the birds. The birds are valued at in excess of $25,000 in Australia, but overseas prices can be astronomical.
Possibly million, 1.5 million.
In Raymond Terrace Local Court, 25-year-old Anthony John Capp faced a total of 13 charges, including possession of endangered and protected fauna, selling protected fauna, and also possessing prohibited weapons and drugs. He was bailed to reappear at Raymond Terrace Court on April 19. His passport has been withheld. National Parks and Wildlife has called for any person who may have purchased the birds in good faith to contact them during office hours on 008 815 128. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
This $1.3 million building houses the new squadron. Its official opening today carried out by Air Vice Marshal Collins. The RAAF has undergone a massive reorganisation of its Weapons System Logistic Management Unit. Under its umbrella, the Tactical Fighter Squadron, with more than 130 personnel, is one of 6 support units. Each has a specific brief but a shared outcome.
Much improved service, much better communication, and I think better results.
The squadron will provide engineering, maintenance and supply support for RAAF aircrafts, but its role extends beyond FA-18s, Mackeys and Windshields.
We're also looking after all the automated test equipment to support those aircraft and the operational flight trainer, the simulator.
That's not too bad, just need to smooth down the roll in a little bit, that'll make your job easier. That was 8 metres, 5 o'clock.
It's been 7 years since the RAAF installed the $13 million FA-18 simulator. 116 fighter pilots have clocked up 10,000 training hours, a further 28,000 used in secondary training and maintenance programs. 17 fighter combat instructors, or Top Guns, have graduated, and now this ultimate arcade game is being used to fulfil another purpose.
10 metres, 5 o'clock.
How many?
10 metres.
David Hughes, a civilian pilot with Australian Airlines, is undergoing special training in a new program designed for standby aircrew. There are benefits on both sides. Civilians keep up to date on the latest technology. The RAAF is gathering reserves.
Well, a lot of the systems are becoming unsupportable. It is 8 or 9 years old, the technology used, and we're always on the outlook for more modern equipment, but it is fulfilling its role at the moment.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
Thank you. Thanks, Jack. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure.
Under perfect conditions, the new 7-metre launch, suitably named Lake Macquarie, sailed into Swansea Channel, a flotilla of police and coastal patrol vessels accompanying its maiden voyage. The vessel's official role will be policing the waters inside and out of the lake, but enforcing the law for boating enthusiasts won't be its only job.
Its second role will be to support those volunteer rescue organisations that are already on the lake, the Coastal Patrol and the Coast Guard.
To do that, the launch has spent the last 2 months in Sydney, fitted out with the latest radio and navigational equipment. At a cost of $70,000, it replaces launches Belmont and Toronto, which served the lake for the past 11 years.
With this vessel, I think we'll be able to respond far more quickly, and I think it will make us look a little bit more professional.
Under the control of Newcastle Water Police, the vessel's crew of 4 includes 2 permanent officers, commanded by Superintendent Ian Cleary, taking the official honours today. While permanently based here at the Lake Macquarie Yacht Club, the new police launch is waiting for the arrival of its sister vessel. She'll be based in Nelson Bay and is expected to begin operations in the Port Stephens area by the end of next month. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
sir.
That's all. So essentially the two things apart from the colour is the absence of a watermark.
This is Rima FM, it's 27 minutes after 10.
It's been a long journey at Rima FM for the mostly volunteer staff. When the station hit the airwaves 8 years ago, it aimed to spread a message of hope and encouragement through its temporary broadcasts.
In addition, we offer them good, clean, light-hearted sense of humour, which we offer through Christian radio. As well as that, we offer the best in contemporary Christian music.
Now it seems the battle to secure a permanent licence may soon be over if the station raises $80,000 needed to purchase equipment.
The transmission equipment that we hire each time we go to air can only be hired for a period of 1 month, because so many other community radio stations want to borrow it or hire it as well.
In a few weeks, listeners will be able to help out the transmitter appeal by donating through a 24-hour Remathon. With its own equipment, the station feels sure the Australian Broadcasting Authority will grant a 90-day licence, eventually followed by a permanent one.
It's taken 8 years, it's taken 10 temporary broadcasts. We've really had to prove ourselves. Why? Well, we don't know, but we've had to, and it'll have been worth it to get there, and we know in our heart that we'll get there. It's coming.
Over Easter, the population of...
Traditionally one of the co-op's busiest days, a constant stream of customers ensured supplies sold quickly. Business has been steady throughout the week. 6 tonnes of fish were sold yesterday, almost 10 today. That represents sales of around $20,000.
We're getting good catches in the last few days, which is good for the public. They've got a good choice and good prices. We're open again tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. Till we sell out, which is probably about 10 o'clock.
Meanwhile, shoppers aiming to lend the Easter Bunny a hand were making the most of final sales in the egg department. Hundreds of kilograms of chocolate are consumed over the Easter break. Retailers reporting healthy trading, cash registers working overtime to keep up with the demand. And it wouldn't be Easter without hot cross buns. This bakery alone cooked up and sold nearly 800 dozen of the sticky treats today. But for thousands of Christians, the true meaning of Easter will be shared in churches throughout the country. Good Friday services remembering the crucifixion of Christ, Easter Sunday celebrating his resurrection. Mary-Ann McKinnon-Kidd is an artist with a passion for pink, particularly pink flamingos. It's been an obsession that led the self-confessed eccentric to spruce up her 61 model E.K. Holden.
It needed repainting, and pink seemed to be the safest colour because it was the one that everybody noticed. So I thought, well, that'll make it safe, and if I put feathers on it, make it look really outrageous, then that would prevent anybody from wanting to pinch it. It makes people smile, and people see people smiling and then they smile, so it's had a very, very positive effect.
But now the faithful flamingo is about to fly west. It's been sold to an equally eccentric female car rally crew.
They call themselves the Pink Revenge. They enter into the Variety Club rally bash. When they saw this car, they thought, this time we'll do it in style. So one of them is coming with a boyfriend to pick it up, and take it across the Nullarbor.
With the birds flocking together, Marianne says she knows her beloved Holden will be in good care. And besides, it's a great way to show off her work.
I've had my fun, and I see it also as a mobile artwork. It's going to go all over Australia. I mean, that's a pretty good exhibition. It's a pretty mobile exhibition.
The small Anglican church in Ashford near Armidale was filled with mourners for the man they called Gordy. Some gathered outside to hear the moving tributes. Meanwhile, family and friends of 50-year-old Anthony Ernest Percival gathered at Armidale St Mary's Catholic Cathedral at midday to bid their farewells. Workmates of the ex-Telecom employee formed a guard of honour as family members carried out the coffin. The two men were murdered 10 days ago after refusing to hand over their car to 3 gunmen. The bandits allegedly opened fire, killing both men. Their bodies were thrown down a nearby gorge.
Over Easter, the population of towns dotted along the Port Stephens coastline doubles to around 30,000. Each day, 1,000 people seek information from the Shire's tourism centre. Plus, the area's motels and caravan parks are booked out, all this representing a $7 million injection into the local economy. So what makes the peninsula so attractive?
Its geographic location to Sydney, Newcastle, Lake Macquarie and the Lower Hunter. We have 3.5–4 million people in Sydney, only 2.5 hours from Port Stephens.
And the visitors seem to agree.
Close to Sydney, and there's lots of things to do within a reasonable area.
Most of the facilities are excellent for the tourism industry, and they've obviously put a lot of thought into it.
Mr Deuce says tourism is increasing throughout the entire year, not just at Easter. One reason for this, the area now caters for a larger sector of the community.
Obviously the family market is always going to be our bread and butter, but with the opening of properties like the Anchorage, it's certainly opening up new markets.
Mr Deuce believes there's still a need to increase the number of man-made attractions, so if the sun isn't shining, people have other things to do.
The night didn't start well for teenager Steve Graham. He clipped wheels and ended up looking at the motordrome from a completely different perspective. Graham got out uninjured and continued the race to finish 5th. In the super sedans, the pressure was on Newcastle's John Pine to win. Australian champ Grenville Anderson was a little too hungry to intensify that pressure and spun out himself. With less than 10 laps to go and in a comfortable lead, Pine got into a tangle.
That would be an absolute tragedy.
But his car wasn't damaged and he ended up winning, taking the title and crossing just ahead of Lismore's Paul O'Neill. Warren Spink took up the challenge early to try and become the league's leading goal scorer. He scored his side's 2 goals and is now level pegging for the point score lead. But his determination to score came at a price. He was given a yellow card for disobeying an offside call by the referee. Brisbane's Ibro Kahat was also shown the yellow. Brisbane did manage to get one into the back of the net, but they were looking like a tired and beaten outfit. The Breakers tried everything they could to frighten Brisbane away from their goal. That score again, Breakers 2, Brisbane 1.
The 30-year-old man had been fishing with friends shortly before 9 last night when he became caught in the rough seas, a rip carrying him about 200 metres out from shore. A friend raised the alarm with Terrigal Police. The local sea rescue boat, the Newcastle Rescue Helicopter and a police launch from Broken Bay were also called in. With seas too rough for the boats to get close enough, a surfboard rider went to rescue the professional fisherman. After reaching him, heavy seas separated the two. The board rider was able to make his own way back to shore. The man had a little more trouble before drifting slowly toward the beach. A police officer met the man about 20 metres out, assisting him to safety. Police believe the man was affected by alcohol. No charges have been laid. Police are making further inquiries and have not released the man's name. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Mayor Doug Carley has been holidaying in Fiji since Wednesday. The mayor had earlier said he was spending time with his family over Easter, but wife Judith today said she was not joining him in Fiji, saying he was there by himself. The mayor left for his holiday without informing council or his fellow Labor aldermen of his departure, but it appears his arrival in Nandi was well known. This article, courtesy of the Newcastle Herald, appeared in Saturday's edition of the Fiji Times. It says Doug Carley is in Fiji for a 2-week visit aimed at improving tourism links between his city and Fiji. The photo shows the mayor being greeted by the head of the Fiji Visitors Bureau. Independent Alderman Alan Davis questions why the mayor didn't inform council of his official visit.
Why the mayor, if he was on official business, didn't advise the council he was going on official business. He could have done it certainly a better way and consulted with the tourist officer and the deputy mayor, and at least had some advice to council.
Deputy Mayor Alderman Laurie Manning also said today she knew nothing of the mayor's tourism visit and said she's disappointed Alderman Carley didn't take 5 minutes to tell her about it. Alderman Davis says he will raise the matter at council tomorrow night. He says the ALP is being far too quiet on the issue.
It seems to be me that's making the noise, or Mark Booth that's making the noise all the time, and we've been accused of making a mischief, and that's not the aim at all. There's certainly been no defence of the mayor's actions over recent weeks from the other side of politics, and I find that rather amazing.
One of the tightest of finishes. The judge called for the photo for both first and third place. Eventually they gave it to Tristalove. It paid $5.80 and $1.80. In Newcastle today, the feature race was the NBN Television Handicap over 1,200 metres. Natural's brother paid $5.70 and $2.80. By the way, NBN tipster Gary Harley picked both second places in those two races.
Hunter and Central Coast Police are pleased with the results of Operation Tortoise. The Hunter area finished the Easter break relatively trouble-free and without loss of life. On the Central Coast, the outcome was slightly different, with the death of a 23-year-old man near Terrigal over the weekend. In all three areas, the number of people charged with drink driving is down on last year. And considering the volume of traffic on the roads, the accident rate was pleasing. Senior Sergeant Terry Devonshire believes a contributing factor to this is that more people are tending to pack up and hit the road in daylight hours. The number of speeding offences compared with previous years was down on the Central Coast and the Hunter, but rose in the Upper Hunter. Seatbelt offences continued to be a problem on the coast and in the Hunter. Senior Sergeant Devonshire says despite the end of Operation Tortoise statewide, police in his district, as in the Upper Hunter, have extended the operation another week to the end of the school holidays. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Trains regularly pass Warrabrook and the university, but there's no station for them to stop. Newcastle City Council is considering an application from State Rail to build a platform here. Although it's a long walk from the main campus, uni students want the green light given to the project. They say car parking on campus is limited and public transport can be a nightmare.
Those students who would prefer to live in cheaper rental areas such as Toronto or Maitland have a real hard time catching public transport.
Council and university representatives inspected the site late this afternoon.
I personally don't see any reason why we should refuse.
The uni plans to run a bus service down to the station. However, access from the other side of the tracks will be more difficult for local residents.
It'll be an expensive business to get access to the railway station.
The council is expected to make a decision about the station by early May. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
After yesterday's public hearing into the Newvale miners' bid to lease their colliery, the Parliamentary Select Committee was due to discuss the evidence in confidence today. The committee asked the miners' consultant Ron McCulloch to join the discussion. It was revealed E&C, which is Pacific Power's mine management company, had made a miscalculation in the mining equipment's residual value. E&C had quoted the valuation as $1.7 million. Today it was found to be worth around $3 million more. This difference makes the miners' lease payment requirements much less, increasing the viability of their bid. Following this discovery, the committee then summoned E&C Managing Director Phil McCarthy to explain. After assessing the figures, Mr McCarthy admitted an error had been made but didn't disclose the size of the error. The committee will now consider this new information and all evidence given.
Bishop Manning's sister Diana Law and mother Elizabeth Betteridge boarded a flight to Sydney yesterday to tell the nation how the Department of Community Services allegedly tried to steal 14-month-old Eliza Jane.
The Department of Community Services took this married couple to a court and actually linked them into the legal system, so that virtually Eliza Jane was becoming ward of the state within a few days after Elizabeth was hospitalised.
Australia was told about a struggle for custody. Young Eliza was placed in the care of foster parents while her mother was in hospital. Sister Diana Law was so incensed by the department's decision, she technically kidnapped the baby. Bishop Manning says it should never have got that far, and he wants an inquiry into the affair.
My concerns would spur me on to ask the Minister for Community Services that he
have an investigation into the conduct of this particular case.
Bishop Manning says the department has too much power, with too few safeguards to ensure it's not abused.
DOCs, under law, can act without giving proper notice to the people that they are dealing with. I say this because there were some pretty vulnerable people hurt in this matter, and not only vulnerable people, very poor people.
And the Bishop says he will do everything in his power to help those who don't have the wealth to fight the system. He's already approached local member Ray Chappell to support an inquiry and says he won't stop until the department's power is reduced.
The fact that a government department can use scare tactics on people who are poor to start with, who have been wounded, who are vulnerable, I don't believe that's even human.
The car had been making a right turn off Empire Bay Drive when it was hit from behind by a truck. The truck driver helped the two injured women from the car just before it caught on fire. The women were taken to Gosford Hospital. The crash caused major disruptions to peak hour traffic flow. Further north, firefighters had a busy night. A neighbour heard noises coming from a house in Bruce Crescent, Warnervale just after 8 and on a closer inspection discovered it alight. The fire brigade was alerted but flames soon gutted the weatherboard home. It's still unclear how or where the blaze started. No one was injured in the fire. The owner of the house was out visiting her mother. Investigations are continuing.
Race 6 had 14 starters, but they were all held up by a power failure, the starter reverting to an old tradition. It caught some horses unawares, and by the time they got to the corner, the field was pretty well spread out. Great Rule paid $5.50 and $2. The trifecta $109.60. Racing tomorrow is at Canterbury, and tipster Gary Harley recommends number 2 in race 7.